Just a couple more things that I forgot to mention in my other update about me getting my stuff stolen. It wasn't just my debit card that was stolen. They also stole the few bus passes that I did have that were given to me. But I feel better knowing that they're pretty much useless because I used them all already a long time ago. So they're pretty much worthless to that individual, to that asshole. And God, I wish I knew who this was. Or maybe it's better that I don't know who they are for their sake. But yeah, they stole that too. That's another thing I noticed that was gone from my wallet. I looked to see if they took anything else in my possessions, and they didn't. It's the debit card, the bus passes, which I had 3, and my phone charger. Now, before I got my belongings back, which, as you can see, I got them back, I did have some help with that. I went there and got them myself, but I had some help getting the bus passes, which were later stolen from me. But good thing they didn't steal them from me before I had a chance to get my stuff. Anyways, I got my stuff, everything, nothing's missing. I got everything. Yeah, and this, I'm going to get into the part 9 of the story. I just wanted to clarify that, add that in. Yeah, I feel a lot better because, I have my own toiletries now. I don't have to ask anybody for anything and then wait 24, 48, 600 hours for a pad or a toilet paper, all that stuff that I had to go through while I was in jail. Absolutely a joke. Now I can just reach into my suitcases like always. Got my backpack, all that. Everything's back to normal. Like, what is normal at this point? But yeah, the phone charger. Now, I have my own phone charger, yes. But back when, I was still trying to figure out how to get my stuff, because when they released me, they pretty much left me stranded without giving a crap. So I was trying to figure out, I have my phone. And this is how fucking stupid they are. Because when I looked through the stuff that they did give back to me, it was my wallet, my glasses. They gave me the case to my glasses, but they gave me my phone. They didn't give me my charger to go with my phone. They gave me my glasses case to go with my glasses. They didn't give me my charger to go with my phone. How are you going to give me my phone back and not the charger? Durr. I can't help but laugh, I don't want to laugh because I'm still like, this is still fresh to me. It was only been a couple of weeks since I've been released. And so my emotions are still fresh. But sometimes I just can't help laugh by how incredibly dumb these, I don't know. But yeah, the charger. So what I had to do, took me a couple of days to think, because I went a whole week without being able to use my phone at all. Eventually, my phone died completely, to the point where when, I tried to think, thanks to you guys again, because I was able to take some of the money that you donated through my Cash App, went to CVS, asked them if they had a phone charger. Thank God they did. It was kind of, the cheap ones, but I just needed anything. Went to plug it in, didn't work. It didn't revive my phone. So I'm like, oh, then, I do what I always do when I don't have the answers. I Google it. There's if it's dead, you might need to go to a carrier store, like an Apple store or Best Buy. They'll revive your phone for free. I'm like, okay, great. If I had a car, if I can get on the bus, if I pretty much had any mode of transportation to get there, but I didn't. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. So what do? I got the phone charger. I bought it. It's not charging my phone. And that was pretty much my last hope. So, eventually I did get my stuff with the charger. But was that before or after that charger was stolen? I think that was before. I think the charger that I bought, was stolen before I got my actual charger, not after. It didn't work anyways, so I had no use for it. But they also took the plastic bag, which I saved with the instruction manual, the box and everything that it came in. They took that too with the charger. And I kept the receipt. They didn't get the receipt. So I'm thinking, like, were they trying to get the money back for it? Because I kept the receipt, because I'm glad I did that too. Because if they were trying to return it and get money for it, like, you can't do that without the receipt. You can have the parts but you don't have the receipt. Can't do it. Because I'm like, if it doesn't work, I have to return it. Well, it's gone. I can't return it. The receipt was useless. Threw the receipt away. But yeah, they stole those 3 things: debit card, charger, bus passes. That was it. Everything else I still have with me. So, what else did I want to update? I've been having some issues with my eyes. I'm not sure if I mentioned I was sick. Yeah, I think I mentioned, because I said I was sleeping in the park again because I've been feeling sick. I think I mentioned it. But if not, I'm mentioning it now. I was pretty sick a couple of days ago. Out of nowhere, I got a fever. And I've still been having this pain behind my eyes for the past couple of days, which is new to me. I've never experienced that before. I'm almost 100% sure it's from strain. So I'm going to try to give some things a break. But yeah, I'm trying to give my eyes a break is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get some more sleep. It's after 10 o'clock now. I should be lying down right now. Just pain behind my eyes. Everything else, I'm feeling a lot better, more like myself. Is this pain will not go away. So, like usual, I Googled it because I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know. I never had a fever and lingering pain behind my eyes. And I had aches other places over my body. So I'm like, okay, now I guess I'm sick. Like, I've been sick before. I'll get over it. But, I Googled it. It said something like optic, what is it? I can't think of the name. It's late. I'm tired. I can't think of the name right now. I just looked this up in the library not too long ago. But it can range from minor to serious. And I don't know which end of the spectrum I fall under. This is a really long update. I'm sorry. I have to get to the story, which is going to be even longer. So I'm going to cut this short. Maybe finish it in the last part. But yeah, like, my fever is gone. The aches are gone except for the pain behind my eyes. So I need to be careful, because one thing that caught my attention when I looked it up, it said, you can suddenly lose your vision, and, if you don't get it looked into. And they said you should go to the emergency room if you have some of the symptoms that I was experiencing: the fever, the headaches. That was another thing. I had the headaches. Or maybe it was the pain behind my eyes, or maybe it was both. I felt like it was both. But yeah, it was both, with the fever, and I was just feeling crappy a couple of days ago. So I'm pretty sure it's strain. I don't know where the fever and the headache, maybe the headache came from a strain. I'm not sure where the fever came from, and I'm not sure how all of that is related. I'm not, I don't know, but yeah, so in any case, hopefully it doesn't get worse, but I'm going to do my part and just rest my eyes maybe for about a week, see if that helps. If anything gets worse, of course I'm going to go to the emergency room, even if I don't have insurance. Like, my health is main priority, not the cost, not insurance. It's my health. If I need to go to an emergency room, I'm going no matter what. worry about everything else later. I'm not going to risk permanent damage to my body or death or anything like that because of stuff like that. Let me get into the part 9 of the continuation of my jail story. So, suicide watch. I was put on suicide watch for about a week in jail. Like I said, I didn't do the urine test, so that's where they put me. So they put us into, I think I mentioned I had the green vest on. So they loaded me and the older woman and some other people who were going to like some other medical appointments elsewhere. We were taken to the infirmary. They loaded us up into the carts. And I remember like being so like, I'm just sitting here like this. I'm sitting here looking like this. That's another thing. My eyes hurt because of the strain I'm not going to move my eyes. That was a bad idea because that hurt. But I'm just looking around like, and everybody else is just like, oh, hey, it's just like, yeah, like, like, yeah, like, this is like laughing and just like it's a regular Monday, and then it's like acting like we're not in jail, like riding around shackled to each. Well, they were shackled to each other. The people in the orange, I was in the green vest, and we just had our legs and hands shackled. Anyways, I just thought that was weird at first. I'm like, why is everybody acting like it's normal day and laughing and joking? Like, I felt like I was pretty much the only one being like dead serious. My first time. I didn't know like what to expect or anything. I didn't know the place they were taking me to, like how that was gonna be. So anyways, we got there, the infirmary. Now I'm asking, what the name of the building is. What is the infirmary? But there's like they're called pods. The areas that they take you to inside the building, where your cell is, where everybody is different pods. That's what they call them. But there's like, for example, one of the areas I was in was 1B, 1 Bravo. So I don't know. The important part is I was in the infirmary. So we get out. They take us to the infirmary. Then, they let the female deputies take it over from there. So they take me and the older woman, and the first thing I see was like a whole bunch of boobs, because like I'm pretty much got flashed when I went in. I'm passing all the cells. There's the lady with her boobs all out. She was half naked, standing like right there in the window, staring into your soul. So I just glanced, out of curiosity, I'm just glancing into the cells. Don't do that when you go to jail, by the way. Like, I mean, you can do that, but maybe don't. Just keep your head straight and just focus on where you're going. But I'm human, I'm curious, and I just glanced. It's not like I'm just staring back at them. But that's what I saw. That's the first thing that I was hit with. So the female deputy, she took care of the older woman first, and I'm looking, and she's got the door wide open. She has her stripped down out of the vest, do a strip search, because every time they transport you to and from area to area or building to building, they have to do that. And so yeah, I saw them doing that with her. She was butt naked, the door's open, and also like right opposite from you, like there's a window, like there's no coverage or anything. So if you're butt naked, like, I mean, it's other females, but they're also, this is what I didn't like, and I learned later that they're the supervisors, but they have male deputies working with the females. So there's not a lot of privacy to begin with in jail, but then you add men into the mix in female spaces, and I didn't like that. But I tried to protect my modesty and dignity as much as I could in there. But yeah, glad that's over. But yeah, so she moves on to me next. She takes me, and they had her sit down too on the toilet or the bed. Had her sit on the toilet. She had me sit on the toilet too. Like, I don't like sitting on the toilet. I don't care how well they clean it. Like, I'll sit on the bed, but the bed is lower. I don't know. Maybe that was easier for her. I don't know. It's like sitting on the toilet. But I had to sit on the toilet, take off the cuffs, squat and cough and everything. And I'm talking so loud. Everybody can probably. Why am I talking so loud? But so yeah, the squat and cough and everything. And so yeah, and that was pretty much it. So he's done with her, and then like that came my turn, and so she led me into my cell and did the same thing to me. And so, easy peasy, like, going with the flow. And so then she told me, like, she was saying, I lost my train of thought. But she was saying, like, I'm sorry, like, what was I just saying? She was saying, that's what I was just saying. She was saying, I'm sorry guys, see, this happens to me. Like, I fear when I get older, like, how worse my memory is going to be, because I just lose my train of thought so easily. Okay, she was saying that I was here because I was being uncooperative, and like I wouldn't get out until I completed the booking process, pretty much. And so then from that point forward, that's when I kept getting hit with the whole booking. That's where the whole booking process nightmare began for me. It started as suicide. Well, actually started back at the booking station. Yeah, booking process, booking station, started there. But it just continued to get worse wherever I was transferred to. They really, really wanted my DNA, my urine, my picture, all of that. So, and they did not like it one bit that I gave it to them. Too bad, so sad. I didn't bring myself here. You brought me here. Well, the cops did. They have nothing to do with that, but they're involved in it now. Anyways, so what was I saying? Yeah. I need to get to bed soon. But okay, so all right, I was only there for a week, and at this suicide watch, a few days after being in jail, that's where I first met my first public defender, and it was a female. And I met her a couple days after being there and talked to her through my door. And that was another thing that I hated. I hated talking through the door, but since I was where I was at, that's what had to happen. So the room itself was very basic. It was just a mattress that didn't really look like a mattress. It was clean for the most part. There were some areas it could have been a lot cleaner. Well, a little cleaner. There was the toilet, the attached sink, basic, like jail cell. It was a little bigger than the cell I was later transferred to. It was still, small. There was no linen. Like I said, I didn't have no toiletries, no toothbrush, comb, soap. I didn't have anything. Yeah, no soap. You heard that right. No soap, no nothing. When I kept asking why can't you even have soap? They're like, oh, we don't want, because, you can hurt yourself. Well, how can you hurt yourself with soap? It makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't really make sense at all. I've never ever heard of anybody hurting themselves with soap. I have heard of people hanging themselves with linen. You can do that. I didn't even see where you could hang yourself from in there, but okay. And let me just say this. If I actually were suicidal and I was in that environment, that would make everything a lot worse. Because that was just completely inhumane. Like, let me also say this. If somebody wants to hurt themselves, they don't need you can take whatever you want, linen, soap, socks, shoelaces, whatever you want. If they're desperate enough to hurt them or kill themselves, they will find a way to do that regardless. So that's what they didn't realize. I knew that, but they didn't care. They didn't realize that. So, this was just inhumane on all sorts of levels. The main problem that I had was I was just praying that I didn't get my period while I was on suicide watch, that they would clear me before I got my period. Because remember, I don't have any underwear. They, took all of that because they're afraid I would hurt myself with it. You can't, suicidal or not, you cannot treat people like that. So that definitely needs to change. It didn't for me, but that needs to change, in the future. I don't know who's going to make it change, but I don't know. That is definitely problematic on many levels. You're asking for lawsuits. You're asking, just maybe even worse than that. Once females start getting infections, that's just a major health hazard. That's definitely unsanitary on every possible level. So when I brought that up to the deputies, they were like, well, we're not trying to be mean, but you're just gonna have to hold up the tampon or pad or whatever you use. Hold it up. This is what they said. This is what they actually said. Hold it up with your fingers. Press it into your vagina, your crotch. Press it up there with your fingers. And I'm like, well, what if you have to walk? You're just supposed to walk and bleed everywhere? Because you can bleed with, underwear on by accident. There's spotting and stuff like that. Let alone no underwear, no protection. You just bleed all over your bed, floor, toilet. Who's going to clean all of that up? Who's going to lay down in your own blood, walk in your blood, have it dripping all down your legs? It's please let my attorney come here so I can tell them that I need underwear ASAP. Keep the bra. Give me underwear now. Thankfully, that didn't happen. They cleared me. Like I said, I was there a week. My period didn't come at that point. I was there in jail 2 months, so it did eventually come. And I did face challenges, but I had underwear while I was facing those challenges. So at least I had underwear. But anyways, what else? Another issue, I needed a shower bad. There were these people that came by. I didn't know, they just introduced themselves, sometimes not even with their names. They just said, we're with mental health. They didn't say, sometimes they said, I'm so-and-so with mental health. Most of the time they just said, I'm with mental health, ma'am. Ask you some questions, blah, blah, blah. So now I could have chosen not to answer the questions because I felt like I didn't have a reason to answer those questions, because none of it applied to me at all, because I'm not suicidal. All these questions are for people who are having suicidal thoughts, which wasn't me. But I still answered them so I can get out of suicide watch. See how that works. So, they ask, are you suicidal? Are you homicidal? Are you hearing voices? What's something good about yourself? What's something you're looking forward to in the future? Blah, blah, blah. List goes on and on. I answered all of it. Every single time. Whether I felt like it or not. Because like I said, I had a choice, answer it or not. But I wanted to get out of there, so I felt like I didn't have a choice. And they still kept me in there. Now, let me move on to the shower. Now, I told one of the mental health people that I had not showered in a couple of months. Told her I was homeless too. And she's like, oh, you haven't showered because you're homeless? I'm like, exactly. And I'm like, I'm not sure if it was my attorney or the judge that I brought up. I'm like, well, I don't have to, my attorney is supposed to be coming, or I'm supposed to see the judge. Like, I don't have to appear in front of them like this, do I? Like, keep in mind, I'm like caked in my own dirt, totally. There's no way people are not noticing that. It's pretty noticeable. You guys noticed it. It was on my neck, face, everywhere. So there's no way they didn't notice it. They probably did, but no, nobody ever mentioned it. And they didn't let me shower because there's a schedule. Okay, but they could have made an exception. They didn't. So I'm sitting there, I'm lying in my own, like my mattress before they moved me to another room was completely caked in my own dirt from top to bottom. I'm like literally laying and rolling in my own filth every night, every day. Because I don't think I've ever been that filthy and dirty in my entire life. But yeah, they didn't let me take a shower for several days being in jail. And I'm finally in a place where I can clean myself, but I have to go by this schedule. So she's like, yeah, surprisingly, she said, yeah, you will have to appear in front of them like that. And so I'm like, what? And so I didn't really believe it, but it could have been like, I don't know. I didn't know how things worked there. And also like this lady had this, not lady, she's acted anything but a lady, but this girl had the nerve to say later on, I'm trying to educate you about how things work here. Like, bitch, did I ask you to educate me on anything? Like, you can't even educate me on why 2 + 2 = 4. Like, how are you supposed to? I'm educated enough without your help, okay? Like, she's like, I'm trying to educate you on how things work here. And this is when I was complaining about the deputies, how they're ignoring not me, but other people when we need just like basic stuff. Let's say I need a roll of toilet paper. It takes like 200 hours to get one simple thing, and they're right there, mind you. Or they just ignore you completely, which they can't do, but they do it anyway. And so, yeah, she's like, they don't get you what you want, they get you what you need. Some BS like that. BS like that. And I'm like, well, they don't know what I need until they stop and hear what I have to say, which most of them don't do. So eventually I just walked away. Well, actually, yeah, I just walked away. She's like, oh, you don't like what I'm saying? No, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you either. Like, agree to disagree. And I'm not, no. Anyway, back to the story. So this is before we started having problems. And I was telling her, I needed a shower. And so she's like, yeah, you will have to appear in front of the attorney caked in dirt. Anyway, that turned out not to be true. It just so happens that my shower day fell on the exact same day that my attorney came to visit me. Coincidence? I think not. I had a pretty good feeling that they weren't gonna let me allow her to see me like that, because number one, that could be problems for them. She can easily write that up, report that even, like, whatever attorneys do, but she'd definitely take notice of it. And if not, I would definitely bring it up to her. They probably knew that too. But I got to take a shower a couple hours before she came. I was nice and clean. My towel, that white towel, was completely brown. Like, it was just, I don't mean to get like gross or anything. I'm just trying to, give you an idea. Like, you guys know how dirty I was, but yeah. I almost asked for a new towel, but I got pretty clean. It took me several showers to get completely clean. Um, but so, um, where am I at? I need to get to bed. Okay, let me speed this up, sort of, because it was just a week and nothing really happened. So the shower, and then what else did I mention? The period. All right, so didn't have the period, got to take a shower, so no issues there. Another issue I had was the deputies themselves. There were just a couple on suicide watch that, they just, and I was getting the feeling, I was always thinking, like, what is wrong with these people? And the first thing that came into my mind, I know they're not cops, but I learned a long time ago that a lot of cops come from military backgrounds. So I was thinking, maybe the same is with, applies to these deputies. Maybe most of them have military backgrounds. And so in jail, I don't have my phone, of course. I can't look things up that I don't know. I have to rely on other people, which was pretty much useless. I didn't get a lot of information there. I got most of my information when I got out of jail, got to access to my phone again. There was stuff I could look up that I wasn't sure when I was in jail. One of the things was the deputies. They were asking me, no, not asking me, but that was one of the things they were, I'm sorry. Oh my God. No, I should end this and do another part when I'm not as tired. But a lot of the deputies, they do have, jails hire people they hire veterans to work as deputies in these facilities. So I was observing them, because I didn't have my glasses, but I noticed, by the way they talked, by the way they acted and dressed. They had dressed in a green uniform, so I automatically thought of the military. They talk super, super fast. They do that in the military also. To the point where me and other inmates would repeatedly ask them to repeat themselves because they don't know how to slow down and enunciate their words. They move really fast. They're there 1 second, gone the next. So there's that. They also do that in the military. They move quickly. The biggest thing I noticed, they're just not all of them, but most of them, they just acted spoke in these monotone voices. They all acted the same, dressed the same, just soulless, emotionless, robotic speech, movement. And if I wanted any compassion or any, and I wasn't looking for compassion from them, but I'm just saying, anybody else just wanted compassion, definitely wouldn't get it from in jail from them. Maybe from some other inmates, and maybe even from some of the mental health people, but not from most of the deputies. And that's, like I said, the military, and my criticism of the military, that's what they produce. I was told years ago when I joined the Army and then left that, and they tell everybody this who enlists, that they break you down, they break you down to build you back up. I think that's how that nonsense goes. And they don't. They just break you down to break you down, and that's it. And then they kick you out. You're left like a husk of a person. And that's what the military produces. And I saw that in those deputies. Yeah. And so I probably some other things that I noticed, but those are the main things. The yelling, there's a ton of that. The cussing, a ton of that. The disrespect, the same disrespect that I experienced in the Army, there was a ton of that too. It was a lot of verbal abuse that I'll Can't get away from it in Florida either. So, okay, what was I? Okay, so yeah, there was a lot of verbal abuse going on in jail, and I may not have been to jail, but I knew like about it, and like a lot of that, I do know that a lot of that goes on. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, definitely. Main thing that I heard and saw was the verbal abuse. Not to say that no physical abuse happens at, I was at Hillsbury, Hills, oh God, I need to go to bed. I was at Hills, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering this. I'll look it up again in the morning. Hillsborough County Jail. It's Hillsborough, I know it is. And so yeah, they might, I'm pretty sure they have had complaints of physical abuse too, but mostly what I heard and experienced was the verbal abuse, and that happened more once I was transferred than in Suicide Watch. It did happen in Suicide Watch too, and I could probably give some examples in the next part, but all you need to know is it did happen. It did happen almost every day by almost every deputy, and it's unfortunate, but especially when you're dealing with the mentally ill. That's why people say the mentally ill do not belong in jail. But look at the condition of our mental health institutions. Look at the conditions of our jails. Like, look what's happening in our, facilities that are supposed to rehabilitate people and treat people. Like, this is how it is in this country, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better until someone steps along and makes it better. Hopefully that'll be me one day. But yeah, there's a lot of deputies that had no business being around, let alone working with the mentally ill population. And that's very dangerous, to provoke people, to humiliate them, to verbally abuse them, and that's dangerous for everybody involved, both the inmate and the deputy and whoever is in the vicinity. But when you don't have checks and balances, people can get away with anything. There's definitely a lot of power tripping. Anyway, on with the story. I was eventually allowed toiletries, because they let me take it into the shower, but they wouldn't let me take it back into my cell. So they're like, okay, what they did with the soap, so this is how it worked for me in Suicide Watch. I had to talk to people through a door, first of all the time. They didn't open the door. They weren't allowed to, unless for emergencies. Because that was protocol. It's because they're dealing with dangerous people, which I wasn't, but still protocol, just like everybody else. And so I had to talk through a door all the time, which is incredibly infuriating and difficult, not to mention. There was also, they called it a food slot or a food tray. I'll call it a food tray. I don't like food slot. Like, I'm not an animal. But food tray is better. But they had that too, and that's what they would slip your food in, and also other things like toiletries and stuff. And so with the soap, they would open the food tray. I stuck my hands out. They would squirt the soap into my hands and leave it by the door, which I couldn't get to the soap when it's by the door. What am I going to do? Unlock the door, open it, grab the soap and close the door? No. So I had to call somebody, to squirt the soap into my hand. And that's difficult to do when you have, some lazy deputies working, or people with attitudes, stuff like that. So it was just, I was glad to leave there eventually. Not that where I was transferred to from next wasn't any better. But anyways, let me kind of wrap this up. If I miss anything, I'll mention it in the last part. Let me see. When my attorney eventually came, there was a supervisor, and I guess that's protocol too. Like, sometimes they're not present when people's attorneys come, but the first time for me, they were present. And sometimes they unlock the food tray so they can hear you better. They didn't do that for me, but I could hear them. She can hear me. And so the first thing, she introduced herself, and she said, for whatever reason you're wearing that green vest, you won't be allowed to like speak to the judge because, and I'm like, well, like, I'm not suicidal. And I told them that, and I looked right at the supervisor, and she's looking right at me like she's about to look like she wanted to murder me or something. I don't know. Like, I guess they all just have that stank face or something. But that permanent face, whatever. But there was nothing I can do. Like, well, there was. They wanted the urine sample. They want the booking process crap, and I still wasn't giving them either. So I remained in there. And so my attorney, she was like, once you get out of here, then you can talk to the judge. And this is when I said, I would like to represent myself. My opinion on attorneys, lawyers, what have you, there have been many times in my life where I have needed legal representation, and I've sought that out, and I believe it was for very valid reasons, and I just couldn't get any help anywhere. Like, so I developed feelings towards attorneys and lawyers that they're just after money, the people's wallets and money. All they care about is getting paid. They don't care about their client, and that's it. So I told her I wanted to represent myself, and she's like, well, of course she didn't want me to do that. No good attorney does. But I was pretty confident in myself because, it wasn't a serious charge, so I was pretty confident I could hold my own. But thankfully I decided against that because it's my first time in jail. That wasn't a good idea at all. And there were certain things that they could do that I couldn't. So anyways, I said I was going to wrap this up, and I am. So she's like, well, if you just sign off on me representing you this one time, you can fire me, next time. So I'm like, I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And the whole time, I see, oh my God, what is wrong with me? The whole time I see the supervisors, literally drilling her stairs, literally burning holes into my forehead. I can feel her stare on me the whole time I'm talking to my attorney, and I'm not even looking at her. I'm just paying attention to what my attorney is saying. But yeah. And so, what was I saying? So, she eventually left. And, I'm like, when am I going to see you again? And I ended up never seeing her again. I got a new public defender, probably because I was insinuating that I didn't need her. So she took that at face value, I guess. I don't even know if she's ever spoke to the judge. I did tell her that I was homeless and that I needed help with that, or else I would just be cycled in and out of the criminal justice system because of my housing situation. I would end up back on the streets, back in jail, blah, blah, blah. So I said, I need help with that before I'm released. She said, okay. For some reason, that never got passed on to the judge. And so she left. Like I said, never saw her again. And yeah, so what else happened on Suicide Watch? I think that was it. The last thing that I can remember that happened before I was transferred to, they called it psych administration. The last thing that happened, I remember speaking to, they brought the doctor in, a medical doctor, not like a shrink or anything, for the urine sample. And I didn't want to talk to him, but everybody kept motioning me to speak to the doctor. So first thing I said was, I don't have to answer your questions, right? And he's like, oh, I wasn't going to ask that. I was going to ask, would you like to do the urine sample, blah, blah, blah. I automatically said no. So I did end up answering his question, but it was no. And so he said, well, you won't leave here until you do that. I lay back down on my crumpled up, not mattress without linen. And I just laid there. And I actually did. It turns out I actually did end up being cleared from Suicide Watch that exact same day that idiotic doctor said that. It happened, and I realized that the deputies, they actually run the show, not the doctors, not the nurses, not the mental health people. It's the deputies. So if the mental health people clear you, but the deputies say it's a no-go, then it's a no-go. Like, you're not going anywhere until they clear you. I didn't find that out until when I was transferred to psych administration. And so, yeah, I didn't find that out until after that. And I was like, well, how can that be? Because the deputies are not licensed, certified mental health doctor people at all. So how can they get the final say and not the actual professionals? Well, maybe that's because that's their facility and the mental health people work for the jail, the deputies. That's probably why they get the final say. I don't know. I'm still not to this day 100% sure how all that works, because I was only there for a couple of months. Ask somebody who's been in jail for longer, a couple of years. They'll probably give you more information on how this crap works, because there's a lot I still don't have a clue about, but that's my guess. Anyway, there was a deputy. She and I didn't get along. It started when, she woke me up one morning. They wanted to take my vitals. Now, they're supposed to ask you, if you take medication, do you want to take medication? And I've witnessed some of the deputies tell you to take the medication and tell you that you have to take it, which is a lie. But remember, they can lie because, they can do that, right? Yeah. And lie to them, they say, yeah, you have to take it. Take the medication, instead of asking them, which is what they're supposed to do. Because they have a choice whether to take it or not. It's not supposed to be forced. Same thing with vitals and everything. Nothing is forced in jail. Well, not nothing, but those things aren't forced. And so when this deputy, who first we were getting along, okay, she's motioning me and she's like, it's time to take your medication. At first I'm like, medication, I wasn't prescribed anything. I was just put on Suicide Watch because of the urine. And by the way, there is no correlation between refusing to give my fingerprints, urine, and picture, and having suicidal thoughts, and peeing in a cup. There is no relation between the three at all. But ask them. They're running that, not me. That's not my call, that's theirs. Anyways, so she said, time to take your medication. I'm like, medication? I'm not taking medication. He's like, time to take your vitals. So I saw the nurses there standing. I think they were standing further off. So I just yelled out to them instead of her, since she was trying to tell me instead of ask me. You're not going to tell me anything, because other inmates may not know. I know I have a choice to take medication if it's prescribed to me, or to take vitals. And sometimes I refused the vitals, sometimes I did. This time I did. I told the nurses. They didn't respond to me, but I told them, like, I'm refusing my vitals until I can speak to my attorney. Because once she left, I didn't know when she was coming back, and I really need to talk to her, because I need to see the judge ASAP, speed this up so I can get out of there. So, all right, this is going on an hour. Hopefully this loads. If not, I'm going to try to condense it. But this is a week, so probably it's not too much, because trying to condense a week of stuff that happened into an hour or however long. So, that's pretty much it, oh no, that's not it. Let me finish. So I refused that. She said the same thing everybody else is saying, like, you're not going to get out of here until you give the urine sample and the booking process and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll get out of here. And she's like, no, you don't understand. And I'm like, so, going back and forth again, because like I said, they like to go back and forth instead of just saying, okay, and then moving on to the next person. That's what I would have done. I'm not going to stand here and argue, and I got a job to do. I got other inmates to take care of. I'm not going to stand here and argue with one person. They don't believe me. They'll find out themselves. She just wanted to go back and forth like every other deputy. I didn't. So she was like, it's like, no, you don't understand. You won't get released here from our custody, from the jail. Even if the court releases you, you won't get released from here until you do that. That's the first time I heard of that they weren't just not going to release me from suicide watch. They told me they're not going to release me from jail at all if I didn't do that for them. So I didn't know that. I knew they were going to keep me in suicide watch for however long. I didn't know that other part until she mentioned it. I kind of had a feeling deep down that somebody would say that along the way. But, yeah, I heard it from her first. And so I don't think, ever since then, her treatment started getting, like, being a little rude with attitude. Because I don't think she liked that I went against her. She's probably used to all the inmates just bowing down to her and just, yes, ma'am, yes, deputy so-and-so, whatever, ma'am, and just cowering, bowing down, whatever, listening to her without question. And that's how I felt a lot of these deputies looked at us, just like either robots or animals, kind of how they acted like most of the time, without feelings, without voices, opinions, without thoughts, and just expected us, everything was yes or no, just expects us to fall in line and just do what they say. And that's like not how things work, especially with me. And so she didn't like that, apparently, and I could tell that. So we didn't get along after that, and because that shouldn't have affected her treatment of me. I didn't care either way. She's still not gonna get what she wanted, and none of them would. But I got released by her, that same deputy, that same ghetto hood rat deputy, because that's what she was. I don't know what else to call her. That's exactly how she acted. And it wasn't just her, anyways, she released me when I started ignoring her. altogether. She asked questions. I wouldn't just lay there on my mattress, not mattress, without the linen pillow, and just like just didn't respond. And there was this one, I don't know who this older woman was, maybe that was her boss or something. I heard her ask, like, can you check and make sure they're okay? And so I heard her come over with that deputy. The deputy knocked on the window and said, did you eat lunch? So I ignore her. She's like, asked the same thing. I ignored her again. So they left. And the last time I ignored her is when, dinner was served. And I didn't answer her at all. So I ended up not eating that night, by the way, because it's like I didn't want to deal with her. And usually I have like at least 2 meals a day. So I have 2 meals a day. Like if I skip dinner, that's fine. Like as long as I'm satisfied. But I guess she didn't like that. I don't know, like if she felt bad or I didn't care, but maybe she felt bad because next thing I know, she's handing me my uniform, the jail uniform. She's taking the vest. She had me take the vest off. And like I said, there's no privacy. I didn't have my glasses, so I didn't know who was out there in the window watching. So I had to crouch down because it's their vest. It's not mine to keep. So she wanted the vest back. I had to give it to her. And at first I was like, I just rather keep the vest because if she's doing this in return for something, like it's not going to happen. So I almost told her to just keep the uniform, but from her tone and everything, she wanted the vest. So I'm like, take it. And yeah, I put on the uniform. She brought like this big bin. I opened the bin. There was linen, blanket, everything I didn't have in there, toiletries, everything I didn't have for the past week. And I left that where it was, closed it, left it in the bin. Maybe it was pride. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, trying to keep as much as my dignity in that place as you can. Because another thing about jail that I know for a fact is it can be very dehumanizing for almost everybody involved. More so for the inmates than anybody else. But, I just kept it there. I put on the uniform because I needed to put clothes on. Got my undergarments bag, not mine, but the jail issued ones, but they're undergarments nonetheless. Another thing, for some reason you couldn't have the slides, the shoes, you couldn't have that in there. And so that was given back to me also with everything else. I still don't know the reason for that. I can't fathom the reason why you can't wear shoes. I don't know how you could possibly hurt yourself with those, but that's the way it was. So it felt good to have. I don't care how clean those floors were. I hate even in my own home. I hate walking barefoot like anywhere. I have to have at least socks, but like shoes, preferably slippers, whatever. I was glad to finally have something on my feet again. And just like that, I was out of suicide watch. That was my week in there. That's how it went. Then they transferred me to psych administration, which I found out that's what it was called later. Again, don't know why I did not belong there. Well, they told me why. Booking process, blah, blah, blah. Urine sample, more of the booking process. I never ended up giving the urine sample, by the way. Just gonna get that out of the way. But yeah, they never got my pee. I got to keep my pee. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna end it here. They took me out, pat me down again. I was taken with another person down the psych administration in another building. And I'll get into how that went in the final part.